After years of games I've found to be underwhelming or really bad, I just want to love an official Sonic game again. And after everything revealed for this game, I think this will be the one.
Chaos Control!
It's the one. It's the one. It's the one! Hi, I'm Aiden, and Sonic Lost World wasn't good. Sonic Forces is one of the worst games I've ever played. Team Sonic Racing was whatever. Frontiers was alright, but I ultimately came out with a lot more frustrations than praises. Superstars kinda sucked. But Shadow Generations is a game I fucking love. It's the first Sonic game I've loved since Mania, and the first official 3D Sonic release I've loved in nearly a decade. I really didn't expect to want to make this video so quickly, but I'm writing this just after I finish streaming this game on October 23rd. It's got the best lineup of bosses in the series, great bonus content, some of the best 2D in the whole series. Seriously, I was blown away by just how much fun I was having in the entirely 2D levels. Speaking of, fully 3D levels for the first time since 06, with superb level design throughout and the best animation work since Unleashed. Maybe in the whole series. It makes me so happy. For the first time in ages, my first thought after finishing a Sonic game was, I want more. So, here I am, doing a sequel to my last video going through every level in Shadow Generations. Once again, I'll be grouping each act together as one, because as much as I really enjoyed the 2D stages, the 3D still majority stomps it. I'll go through what I liked, what I disliked, and what I loved. But first, once again, a quick boss ranking, because Sonic Team cooked with these. The only boss on their level in base gens is Perfect Chaos. They'll be a bit more in depth, because I adore the character interactions in them, and the progression. Metal Overlord is still probably my favorite Sonic final boss ever. When I saw the pre-release footage for this boss, I was worried they butchered it with this slow and boring looking 2D section. And while that section isn't great, it's shorter and more tolerable than I expected it to be. The Zelda reference is cute. The chase up to Metal Overlord is awesome, captured the exact kind of vibe this boss gave me in Heroes. This dark storm in uncharted waters fighting back against an unstoppable, envious tyrant. And the music? What I'm Made Of is probably in my top 5 tracks in the whole series. They didn't even try to remix it. Can't touch perfection. The dialogue in this fight is so good too. Metal already has the worst inferiority complex of all time, so I was always keen to see how he'd interact with the Hedgehog, who was actually Sonic's equal. Shadow's cool and calm response is exactly what I expect from him.
To defeat me, accept your Hedgehog. I am now the true Sonic, the true ultimate life form.
Don't. You'll be joining the rubble in the water soon.
Man, Kirk Thornton kills it in this game. He's finally come into his own as Shadow. I do really wish the Chaos Controls attacks that you get from getting on rails did more damage, as it's actually just faster to use Doom Surf to hit boxes at him. In this recording, I literally skipped the bit where he tries to hit you with his tail. Nerf boxes. Yeah, you really can't have a Shadow Celebration game without the Bio-Lizard. The thing that represents his past the best. The one he's escaped. This hideous monster that was meant to bring nothing but destruction. In Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow saw this beast as just that, an ugly prototype that he has far surpassed. But in Shadow Generations, he sees an animal suffering, one that he has to put out of its misery before it does any more harm to itself or the things around him. The first phase is just SA2's whole boss fight recreated word for word, but as soon as you get a hit on that life support bubble, the Bio-Lizard takes on a whole new form with makeshift arms made out of the bubbles it let out in its previous phase. Those arms slam down shock days that are pretty easy to run away from. Ignore that. And once you blow the arms up, you make your way to the life support by way of homing attack. The final phase is a bit lame. You just spam Chaos Spear into this admittedly incredible QuickTime event. Shadow Generations Bio-Lizard is still a fantastic translation of the SA2 classic, with new attacks and great character development from Edgy to Hedgy. You know, given that Ian Flynn was writing this game, it should be no surprise Mephiles came back. He loves this guy. And I'm not complaining, I love what was done with him in this game. Confirming that he's still alive, just stuck in white space, forced to watch as time goes along without him in it. To him, this is his last chance to ever break out. But to Shadow, this is Tuesday. The dialogue between these two is once again phenomenal. It sucks that they couldn't get Dan Green back, but Robbie Damon, while not capturing Dan's calm, calculating swagger or even his deeper voice, does a great job playing this more broken, desperate Mephiles.
No! Coexist!
That's the best line in the whole game right there. I love the escalation of the phases. It starts with Mephiles trying to take Shadow head on, using your lack of mobility and the sludge against you. But as soon as you hit him with Doom Morph, he instantly hides behind his clones. He's trying to buy time. He knows he's completely outmatched by the ultimate life form, so he's going to wear Shadow down instead. After you hit him again, Mephiles retreats to the skies. You chase him up the pillars he brought down upon you, and take him back down to Earth. Mephiles then decides to unleash all the power he has left, transforming into a gigantic monster in one last-ditch attempt to defeat Shadow so he can take control of his body and finally exist again. But that was never in the cards. There is no future for him beyond this, and you get the best ending to any level in the whole game.
There is no future for him. Ever.
While Sonic Generations has one of the worst final bosses in the series, Shadow Generations flies in with one of its best. Devil Doom and Neo Devil Doom are fantastic. I much prefer base Devil Doom to his new transformation though. It's a Sonic final boss that actually tests the abilities you gamed and used throughout its game. You know, like most final bosses should. It's set in this dark hellscape version of what I want to say is Westopolis, even though I know it's Radical Highway. Seriously, crazy that there are no Shadow Wave 5 stages in this game. Everything's upside down, the sky is a crimson red, and Doom is entirely in control. But Shadow's way stronger than that. The Doom Surf section is a more challenging version of Metal Overlord's Chase, with the obstacles you have to spin out of your way being a lot more deadly and surrounded by lasers. And hey look, if you go for the skips, you're actually rewarded with more damage. Great stuff. Once you've gotten dear old dad down to half health, you enter a Doom Morph section. And I actually don't like this bit. Doom Morph just isn't fun. The swing mechanics already aren't great, but doing it here where the foreground is covered with road is rough. Platforming sections in Sonic bosses are always great to see, but this one was a rare miss. The first two climbs up to him are great and feel super satisfying, but the third is just a mess. Side note, I wish the track we got here was I Am All of Me instead of a remix of Black Doom's theme. I get that All Hail Shadow is more relevant to the character Shadow is now, and my god, what a hell of a new arrangement. But his previous theme is the one everyone thinks of when they think of Shadow. Then there is Phase 3, where Sonic Team dares to ask the question, what if the Time Eater? But good. It's a chase through the skies, trying to catch up to Neo and kick his core. But the obstacles thrown at you and how you catch up to him is actually, fun. The music is phenomenal, and the set piece is a billion times better. God, Doomwing is like my favorite Sonic ability in years. It feels so fantastically used, and this boss is so much fun to beat. This is one of those final bosses I've wanted from the series for years. The last one I enjoyed this much was like Molina and Black Knight. God, I wish he took off his inhibitor rings for the end though. This game is the redemption this character has needed since 06, and I'm so excited to discuss it more. Without further ado, I want to gush about the levels, so we'll begin with... On my first playthrough of Chaos Island, I hated this level. And I thought it was going to be the last one of the game, and was pretty sad I was going to be left on a sour note. Thankfully, it wasn't, and upon replaying it for this video, I like it way more. However, it's still at the bottom for two big reasons. One, the music. This trap remix of Chaos Island does not do well on my ears, hence why I'm playing Flowing from Sonic Frontiers. 2. Doom Morph. I already mentioned that I don't like this ability, and while I've gotten better at using it than I did when I was streaming this game, it still frustrates me to no end. You can actually skip a lot of sections and not lose that much time when it's required, but pain. I think if you had a sustained boost while in this form rather than just a burst of speed, it'd be a lot more tolerable. I'll start by talking about Act 2, as I will for every entry on this ranking. It's the shortest stage in the whole game, which is a bit weird. It's pretty linear too, surprised there aren't more paths to take given it's the Frontiers level. Doom Morph works a lot better in 2D though. There's no foreground elements to get in your way, nothing you can bonk off, and swinging feels good. The music, while not my thing, is a lot more pleasant on my ears. Kinda reminds me of something I'd hear on like a Flash game from 2014. While I wouldn't consider this level anything super, I really like how it's still set up like you're climbing Chaos Island, with this level being mostly an elevated slope, before you descend into its depths once you gain Doom Morph. Generations continues to not miss with its backgrounds in 2D. Chaos Island makes for a great set piece. Not a fan of the Flappy Burst section, but at least it's short and over quick. That bonus level can go fuck itself though. Act 1 is the shortest 3D stage in the game, excluding Doomwing Radical Highway Act 2. While you're in this flow state, damn this stage hits. I really love the opening. It's exactly what I expected from the stage. It's far more open than the majority of Shadow Generations. Flying off the ramp gives you a great view of the insane amount of alternate paths there are. And that tracks throughout every open area of the stage. From the factory to the volcano, it captures what Frontiers was going for really well. Love that every top path is elevated in a way that you can see all the more dangerous and slower paths you're missing. It lets you see in real time how much time you're saving. It's a really nice touch. If this stage didn't have those nagging Doom morph problems, it'd be a lot higher. I will say though, the speedrun for this stage is awesome. My friend Mary came round to my place while I was making this video and absolutely smashed my top time. Shoutouts to Chaos Control for making for some super cool routing. Replay this one if you haven't, it's a lot better than I remembered. I seriously can't believe we got a stage from the most boring game in the series and my least favorite game of all time before we got a stage from Shadow 05. We got a stage from a game Shadow had literally no presence in before we got one from 05. Boggles my mind. That aside, the Hot Sauce MF was a pretty big part of Infinite's backstory, and Episode Shadow had some of the more tolerable levels in the game. If you really had to include forces, I would have much preferred Metropolitan Highway because I actually really love the look of that stage, and it has some interesting level concepts as opposed to generic Burning City number 54. But Shadow actually went to Sunset Heights, so it makes sense why this one was chosen. Regardless, Shadow Generations Sunset Heights is better than every single Forces stage combined. Act 2 alone has more alternate paths than any stage in it. Okay, look, I'll stop bagging on Forces when I'm dead, but I promise that's the last diss of this video. This is a positive video on a really good game. Honestly, I might low-key prefer Act 2 to Act 1. They're at least on the same level. I love its aesthetic and level-specific mechanics. The rain putting out the fires, creating massive puffs of smoke, and the rubble of the city with Death Egg robots lurking in the background behind me is somehow more effective than running through it as it's being destroyed for me. Those Death Egg robots noticing you and destroying the platforms you're standing on, both making it harder for and allowing you to progress through the level, is genius. Works great with Chaos Control too. Wow, I haven't even touched on Chaos Control this whole video. I'll come back to it when I have more to say, but just know it's one of my favorite abilities in any Sonic game. This level probably also has my favorite stage transition in the whole game. Grinding on an exploding rail into the sewer to seek refuge from the hell outside. It's so damn cool. And wow, I didn't expect Doom Surf to work so well in 2D. It made Act 2's sewer section to feel far more distinct from Act 1's. Speaking of, Act 1 is a great level in its own right. Starts off exactly how Episode Shadow's version of this level does, boosting down the highway of Sunset Heights, but as soon as you pass under this beam, it's almost entirely new content. Starting with these water spouts. When I first boosted up to these, I thought they were going to be super annoying to interact with, but they feel great. They rock you up quickly and even allow you to jump off them for an almost immediate air boost. Even though this level is the most hallway-like in Shadow Generations, it's by far the level with the least alternate paths. It doesn't feel that way because the path you're set on is actually fun and interactive. However, I can't say the same for the Radical Highway section. It's pretty comfortably the worst one in the game. While that cinematic transition is terrific, it's almost entirely set on this straight spiral that's just super boost to win and barely even punishes you for getting hit. It's a pretty long section too, over half the level in fact. So close to a Fantastic Forces level too, damn. When I saw Rail Canyon was back in the trailers, I was popping the hell off. I've always had a soft spot for this stage. I love its aesthetic, obstacles, and Hero's grind mechanics. While I would have preferred Bullet Station, as it's my favorite hero stage, I'm still overjoyed this is back. I thought the closest thing we would ever get to this stage back would be Sparks 3's Lost Riviera, another phenomenal stage. Play Spark the Electric Jester 3 if you haven't, it's one of the best 3D platformers of all time. As advertised, Rail Canyon is a stage that is primarily on rails, which normally doesn't work in 2D Sonic. The example I always go to is Lost World's Tropical Coast Act 3. This 2D section is slow, with not much in your way outside of some minecarts that are barely even in your way. Shadow Generations isn't entirely void of this problem. The entire first rail section has barely anything to slow you down, but it's saved by the ability to actually control your speed with the boost, and some fun, good reaction time tests to get to high ground. I know I've talked about stage aesthetics a lot in this video, and I'm going to continue to. This one is so damn pretty. I'm a total slut for any sunset aesthetic, but especially if it's a western. As soon as you're eased into rail grinding in 2D, the game instantly starts throwing new things at you. I'm always a fan of loop-to-loop rails that carry your momentum. Jumping off these feels great. I almost really like the ending to this stage. I love that you can see the bull train throughout the entire second half of this level stalking you, slowly gaining speed as it gets ready to ram you. Feels like the team wanted to do what City Escape Act 1 did in Sonic Generations, but the actual part where the train chases you doesn't last long at all and poses no real threat. Great camera work though. Rail Canyon Act 2 is an almost one-to-one recreation of Heroes' stage, but with boost mechanics, and that's actually all I wanted. It is so much fun. Part of me wishes there were more cool skips you could do like in Spark 3, but the actual level is so satisfying to play through that I don't care. Then there's the best Radical Highway section in the whole game. It's short, implements the level's gimmick well, and I love how the skydiving bit is a reverse of the fan bit. The transition back into the regular level is also genius. Black Doom builds a station around you and a door opens back to the main level. And the climax for this level is actually the best part. Chaos Control is utilized perfectly. I love how it's used as both a way to create skips and in this instance, a way to avoid obstacles. Freezing the rails mid-explosion is so satisfying. And the final bit with the bull trains is what Act 2 tried to do, but good. Turns out the solution to the problem was just add more trains. Rail Canyon is an exhilarating thrill ride that I'm so happy Sonic Team brought back, and I really hope we get more like it in the future. Kingdom Valley is my favorite 06 stage. I'm a big fan of the medieval aesthetic, I love its level-specific gimmicks, and man, that Muck Speed section hits different. The water flowing all around you, revealing the Sonic equivalent to Atlantis, the music climaxing as the choir kicks in, it's so good. Shadow's version of the stage isn't as good, not a fan of the flying section or Rouge's section, but oh man, I'm a big fan of this iteration. No wonder they showed this off in the PAX demo, it's gorgeous, fast-paced, and so open. That doesn't exactly apply to Act 2 for me, unfortunately. It's still a good level, but it's a level where not a lot is in your way. The first half provided you on top is basically one long rail with none of what made Rail Canyon Act 2 interesting. But as soon as you pass through this loop-de-loop, things pick up. While I don't think the aesthetic of Kingdom Valley hits as hard in 2D, getting to interact with the outskirts and inside of the castle more is a treat. It's something no other iteration of Kingdom Valley has done to my knowledge, and it feels foreboding and looks fantastic thanks to some great camera work and lighting. I really like how much it asks you to use Chaos Control. The entire indoor section is basically just a Chaos Control Master type bonus level, which works for me because those are my favorite type of bonus level. Beyond that though, this act is not that special. Its music, however, totally is. Kingdom Valley Act 2 has my favorite track in the entire game. The loud, frantic violins, the more pronounced, intense drums, the light, calm 1 minute in as it builds itself back up. I replay the stage just for the music alone. It's insane how well it goes with the pace of the level. Top tier stuff. But Act 1, my god, what a banger stage. It's one of, if not the most open in the game, has an insane amount of potential for skips. I recorded this before I knew about Chaos Airlines, but I went back and played it when I did, and my lord, this level gets such a boost for that technique alone. It's also the stage that by far makes the best use of Doom Surf. The areas where you use it alone have like 4 different alternate paths. It's incredible. And the tower climb midway through the level, hell yeah man. This shot behind Shadow on the grind rail is one of my favorites in the whole game. The entire level is filled with phenomenal camera work. Sonic games really do not get enough credit for how great their in-level cinematography is. This is also the only stage in the game other than Chaos Island that doesn't transport you to Radical Highway, and I think that's a plus. I like some of those sections, but more times than not I find they kill the pacing pretty hard. Chaos Control skips on the other hand have the opposite problem. I haven't talked about these yet because I've been saving them for this moment. I think they were a really cool idea in concept, but were made far too strong. And it's best shown in Kingdom Valley. This Chaos Control skip before the end of the stage skips like a whole 15 seconds of platforming, which, while great for my speedrun time, makes me really sad because the section is really fun and intelligently designed. It's a great precursor to the final section of the stage, the Uprooted City. That section beforehand, you had Doom Surf then to break your fall if you messed up. A slower pass, but you're safe all the same. With the final section, you have no such sanctity. That said, it's still really easy, but man, I love this final bit. The visuals are still gorgeous and the final dash is still really fun. I think this is just one of the best Sonic stages in history, and that goes for the final 2 as well. A penultimate Sonic stage that is not just fantastic, but is a contender for one of the best in Sonic's history. Genuinely, when was the last time we had that? In my opinion, probably Heroes Egg Fleet. 21 years ago. Well, if Radical Highway does one thing, it's make up for lost time. Black Doom really loves this stage, as we've seen it 4 separate times before this in other stages. But this is by far its best showing in Shadow Generations. I'll start with Act 1 this time, because both of these levels are fully 3D and build on each other in a way no other stage in this game does. Radical Highway Act 1 begins with a beat-for-beat remake of the iconic Sonic Adventure 2 stage's opening. Sliding down the rail, bouncing up a building, and going through the loop-de-loop. Or, there's this really awesome upside-down alternate path I had no idea even existed. Shoutouts again to Mary. After a very short platforming sequence, Shadow ascends another building via a monkey bar, and reaches his peak.
I'll overcome every obstacle with this power.
Doomwing. I think Doomwing is one of the singular greatest abilities Sonic Team has ever come up with. It was created to absolutely break the game in half, and it succeeds with flying colors. Doomwing makes you fully invincible, allows you to glide for as long as you have enough boost gauge, and as long as you have 50 rings. The only real drawback is the transformation animation. It takes like 5 seconds. But man, going back through the whole game and seeing what absurd bullshit you can do with it is so much fun. This level was created to just show off what you can do with it. Look at all these fucks I don't give. And somehow, it still feels fair. The boost gauge only lasts so long and it's really easy to overextend and fall to your death. I did that a lot on Act 2 especially. It helps that both acts themselves are actually challenging even if you choose to take the flight path created for you with Doomwing. I will say, the sliding bit where they take away both your ability to boost and fly does feel pretty out of place here. but I think it's fun to play through. Even creates a really cool alternate path with these rainbow rings here. It's easier to miss than you think because your jumps are nerfed. As for the music, I'm kinda mixed. I love the synth and more offbeat guitar, and I love how it feels more calm, showing how far Shadow has come since he first debuted with Vengeance is Mine. But I'm not a big fan of the drum solo or the dubstep bit. I actually think the best remix we get of this track is the one in the level select. Here, give this a listen. What a banger. Anyways, Radical Highway Act 2 opens with a Westopolis reference, and this made me so happy playing it through for the first time. That was Shadow 05. That was the opening of Shadow 05. It's all 3D again. It's so cool that even the opening falling section has multiple alternate paths. The entire opening 30 seconds of the stage is just one of my favorites in Sonic, even if it's fairly straight. Act 2 is far more of a challenge than Act 1. If Act 1 was showing you how Doomwing breaks the game, Act 2 is the game taking back control. Doomwing making you invincible makes it easier than it should be, but I still died more times than I would like to admit when I played it for the first time. This level has far more obstacles than you're aware while you're flying this time. Instead of just a bunch of empty space and platforms to catch or fall, there's big Power Ranger monsters who fire insanely massive tornadoes and rotating platforms that will smack you just below where you need to be. God damn it! Even the circular tunnel bit, which is normally lame as hell, is great here. It removes your ability to fly, so you're forced to interact with it, which caught me off guard. Radical Highway is a phenomenal final level for Shadow Generations, filled with love for the character, love for the franchise, creative level design, and the most fun abilities Sonic has produced in ages. Bravo. The only thing I don't like about it is that its non-Doomwing variant is really frustrating and not much fun. This level was not made to be without it, even if I think some of the routes it creates are really creative and cool. But I've not been judging the other stages on how they play with Doomwing, so I shouldn't base this one on how it plays without it.
Fine. I've got you now. I won't let you get away.
I went back and forth on this and Radical Highway as my number one for ages. Radical Highway is fully 3D, while Space Colony Arc has the best 2D stage in the game, along with the best non-Doomwing stage. Radical Highway is the best final level in decades, while Space Colony Arc is the best opening level in maybe the whole franchise. Both great music, both great theming, but in the end, I went with Space Colony Arc because I don't think I could have asked for a better first impression. Can we talk about how cool it is that the game starts with the final level from Sonic Adventure 2 and ends with the first one? It's such a great touch and a perfect setup for the plot of the story. Anyways, let's begin with Act 2. As I said, Act 2 is easily the best 2D level in the game. The first minute is relatively automated, but is filled with some great mini tutorials and camera work. It was actually the short platforming section after that showed me just how great Shadow controls in 2D. Seriously, I haven't felt this good just hitting jump in a Sonic game in ages. I love how they translate the green pole things, I don't know what these are called, into 2D. They actually require you to manage your boost to use them properly, and the platforms on top allow for some nice shortcuts. I am ass at using them though. Then there's the bit inside the arc. I love the obstacles and use of chaos control here. You can use it to get to higher parts of the level, or just make parts easier. Finally, Shadow runs down a hole and activates Doomwing. Yeah, this is an interesting choice. It's cool that you get a taste of the power this early on in the game, and I love the places it allows you to go, but at this point, I thought I was getting it for the whole game. The game doesn't even bring it up again until the final level, which feels kinda clunky. I actually like the no Doomwing path more anyhow. Some of the most fun platforming and well-integrated obstacles in a Sonic level. It's class. But Act 1, dude. When was the last time I even played an opening level in any game packed with this much depth? I remember seeing the opening level of this stage being a straight line and getting so worried. But I had no reason to as the level is long, has multiple skips, looks great, and plays perfect. In the first minute alone, there's so many great reaction time tests and ways to go faster. Most of them I missed in this recording, but it feels so satisfying. Not since Unleashed have I felt this rewarded by my incredibly poor reaction time. Oh, and the use of chaos control here? Sucks at peaks in the first level, but fuck me, how do you top falling through space into freezing time to run on a bunch of rockets that create a path of you, into kicking another to create a gateway to the inside of the arc? God, it's awesome. The inside of the arc section here is maybe my favorite in the whole game. You can't tell me the hallway bit here didn't take inspiration from Spark 3's Nighttime Phenomena. I played this level at PAX, and my first thought when entering here was, holy shit, I want to play this level again, I missed so much. The room's as open as a Shadow 05 level, and the paths to take are immense. Look at this! God, I love this game. The level, unfortunately, however, doesn't end on the most positive of notes. I don't think the Radical Highway section is particularly great. It's pretty automated for the most part, and the automation doesn't exactly have much flair. Even the skips you can get on it aren't that satisfying. The sliding arm building bit is kinda cool, if easy. I do absolutely love that the level ends in the control room of the Ark though. Awesome touch. Overall, this is legit the best opening level in the franchise, barring like Emerald Coast maybe. It's not as fast or as freeing as Generations Rooftop Run, but it does what it wants to do exceptionally, and has just as much flair and style. So, overall, I don't think Shadow Generations was as good as Sonic Generations, but given it's part of a whole package, this version of the game has easily replaced Sonic Generations in my top 5 of all time. It's probably my game of the year on account of just how happy it made me. Can't wait to see how Sonic Team fucks up the next game. We have to wait another 10 years for something like this. God, I hope I'm wrong. Regardless, if you haven't tried Shadow Generations yet, highly recommend it. Promise it's worth your time. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care of yourselves.